Okay, we are back. Let's put the article on the screen here. There we go. S3 Object Lambda now supports using your own code to modify the results of S3 head and list API requests. I'll put the article here in the comments. The idea is, well, as it says, you can have a Lambda function that basically intercepts that call to S3 head or S3 list and do some processing on the results of that return before you actually get it. So you could do things like display files that aren't actually there, right? You can add extra entries into S3 list, or maybe depending on the context, hide some files that are there. Or you could have PDF, say if you had text files, but you had some way of rendering them to PDF on demand and you didn't want to pre-render a PDF for every text file in your bucket. You could have a Lambda function which does that for you on demand. So when you get S3 get my object.pdf, it will run it right then and there. I think this is a really neat idea. What do you think of this one?
So this almost feels like the scripting that you do in Nginx configuration or Apache configuration, where invariably when you have these kind of proxies, you want them to intercept stuff and either conform or operate with some rules about where to fetch the data, how to fetch the data, how to transform things. This makes it really easy in the serverless world, when sometimes you just need that little operation, setting up an Nginx web server that then allows you to do all these manipulations or basic head and list API stuff. Feels like an overkill, and the fact that now you can do it with a simple Lambda just opens up the doors to so many different use cases. I think there are a lot of multi-tenant systems which are not truly multi-tenant in the sense that your data stores and all are pretty much the same. And that makes sense. I mean, you don't want that additional complexity. But for setups like that, if you really wanted to create a pseudo multi-tenant abstraction on top of it, you could actually leverage something like this to do that for the customers. The header information has information about who is making the call. You look at the data. You can decide whether you want to list the files but not have them, be able to access it, or vice versa. I mean, you can decide what you want to do with it, but the fact that you have that ability with a simple Lambda function just makes so much sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really neat idea, and your head can kind of spin with different ideas that you could implement to, like you said, intercept this request on its way to the client and present things. I wanted to do a shout out to Danilo Paccia. I think that's how you say it. He is the AWS evangelist in the EMEA region, and he made a really neat Twitter thread about different ideas that you could do. So here we go. Multi-tenanted S3 bucket. You can now mask specific objects from appearing in the list response depending on the caller.
Right.
You can filter the content returned by a get based on the caller. Data format migration. You can serve on-prem data if but it'll look like it's an S3 for the purpose of not having some conditional case baked into the code. You can have that conditional somewhere else.
Correct.
So yeah, lots of neat ideas in this thread. I posted this into the comments thread. Yeah, I think this is a really neat feature.
Agreed.
All right. Well,
so do we give this? I think I'd give this a good 4. Yeah, I think they're very explicit about what you can do with it and what it does. So I'd give it a good 4. And this is simplification. I mean, there are some scenarios. To be very honest, I haven't come across a scenario where I've really felt the need to make this kind of a change. It's in scenarios where you need that level of control. But yeah, I can now think of places where I could potentially use this functionality to do things a little more efficiently. So simplifies is the right banner for this one.
Yeah, I think so. It's neat that the very simple transformation logic can live in one place. Now, I think that there's certain caveats that you can look at in the Twitter thread about, if you were doing an S3 operation on a 10 gigabyte video, your Lambdas, you still have to deal with S3s timeouts and not lambdas, so you don't get 15 minutes. You get 60 seconds, I think.
Right. I
You
mean,
have to
I
be
think
aware
it's
of that.
it might be the API gateway equivalent constraint. So you're still talking about 30 seconds to return back a response for whatever you're sending, unless you can figure out a way to do this asynchronously. But that's basically what it is. And I think there are limitations also to what the object size are in what gets returned back by Lambda. Was it 6 megs or something like that, which is the size of the object you can return back? Yeah, I think there it says the request and response payload size is 6 MB.
It said S3 Object Lambda uses new S3 API to return the object. Oh, but then I think he corrected himself. Okay, that's the timeout. 6 megabyte limit doesn't apply to S3 OL, but you still have
it's 60 seconds to stream the complete response.
Yeah, so you're not going to be transcoding a 4K video.
Not anytime soon. I think AWS batch is going to be your best bet to do something like that.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Well, good to know that it's
great.
Good to know it's out there. Should we? How do we rate this one? We did that. We did 4.
We did that. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think let's go on to our next one then, which is IAM Access Analyzer. We're doing a lot of IAM today. Yeah. Hopefully IAM in a way that's, I think I was excited for this because of the simplicity. So